sisters, welcome back to our art lessons online for week 7. This week we're going to be continuing on with our paper mache mask. We're going to be adding some features to your mask. So today's lesson might be a short one if you only add a few things, or it might be a long session that you might want to split over 2 different sessions if you want to add lots and lots of different things to your mask. So today all depends on what you want to turn your mask into. I have my materials all ready to go in front of me. So I've got my paper mache balloon. I've got some spare newspaper just in case. I've got my ripped up newspaper and some extra balls over there. I've also got some scissors, masking tape, a marker, and some different materials that I might want to use to decorate my mask. Now, the marker is so that we can mark out where we want things to go. Scissors obviously to cut up our things that we're going to be adding to it. Masking tape to hold them into place until we can paper mache. I've just cut out 2 sort of semi-ovals out of toilet paper roll, and I put a split in the middle in order to make sort of a standing up ear, and I'm going to paper mache some ears to my mask. That's a nice easy idea that I'll let you guys have. Then we need our paper mache mixture again, so the flour and the water, which makes our paper mache glue, and of course we will need some cloths and tea towels ready to go, just so that we limit the amount of mess that we do that we are making today. Now, last week you were given the heads up that you would need a plan for this week. You need to have an idea of what your mask is going to look like, and we need to add some features onto our mask. So I've just kept mine nice and simple. I've drawn some winged cat's eyes that I'm going to extend the cut into. So I'm going to cut out those. Remember, it is just paper mache, so we can still cut out our holes to be a little bit smoother and a little bit bigger. I've also drawn the mouth a little bit bigger, so I'll cut that out. And I've used my marker to draw 2 lines, and that's where my toilet paper roll ears are going to be positioned. I'll need to attach those with masking tape before I start paper macheing. First of all, we need to get our balloon out of our paper mache. So it might have managed to dry and come out during the week, but if it hasn't, just slowly start giving your balloon a little bit of a twist. Push in the edges so that it starts to come away from that paper mache. If it's still very stuck and it just does not want to come away from the paper mache, you can always pull up the knot of the balloon, pinch underneath the knot, and then using your scissors, be very careful, you might need an adult to help you with this step. You're going to make a snip in the balloon between the knot and your fingers. So that way we're not popping the balloon, we can just let the air out slowly. And you can see that balloon starts to shrink down and it'll come away from the paper mache because we added that oil. So that's what allows our balloon to come away from the paper mache. Right, my mask is now free. What I need to do is trim around the edges because we can see that they're quite rough and messy. I need to trim any extra holes that I wanted to cut out before I can start adding on my features. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. My edges are nice and smooth. I've cut out my eyes to be a little bit bigger, and I've cut out my mouth to be a bit bigger. So you can sort of see now why I said make our balloon about the size of our head or even a little bit smaller. Alrighty, please make sure you are working on a piece of newspaper so that we limit the mess that we are making today. I've got my glue ready to go. I've got some newspaper strips ready to go. I've got my extra materials ready to go, and I've got some masking tape ready to go. Anything else we can pop out of the way because we don't need that just at this moment. Keep a cloth handy so that we can wipe our fingers. Alrighty, so my mask, maybe I can sit on this bowl so that you... Now, what I'm going to be doing is attaching some simple toilet paper ears that I made by cutting half of an oval, so a semi-oval, right around, cutting a slip in the middle, and then bending those two sides back so that it would sit flat, and that's going to become an ear for my cat woman. So there we go. Alright, might not look like much at the moment, but that's because there's no paint. We will be painting next week. What I need to do is I need to secure those features, whatever they may be, to my mask with a lot of masking tapes, because once we start adding our glue, things get soggy, things want to move around a bit, things might slip. Use lots and lots of masking tape. I'm going to put masking tape on the inside as well, just to really secure that. Alright, that's looking good, and then I'll do that to the other side as well. Alright, that's looking pretty good at the moment. Now, if you wanted to add any other features, such as eyebrows or any bumps or anything, what you can do is you can scrunch up amounts of newspaper to make balls, or to make little logs. Put masking tape around that newspaper and then attach it to your mask wherever you would like it to go. Similarly, you could also use rope. If you had any rope or thick string or twine, you could always glue that wherever you would like a line or a bump. Get creative. I quite like using cardboard. So if you've got some old shoe boxes, or you've got some egg carton or anything that you're about to throw out, be creative. Think about the ways that you could take those materials that you would have just thrown out, and you can attach them to your mask and then paper mache over. Do not just use paper. Okay, I'm going to warn everyone, don't just use paper for the ears, because once you start applying paper mache, it's not going to sit up. It's not going to stay rigid. It'll just become floppy, and it won't be, you won't have the best time. It'll be very difficult to manage. Alrighty, so make sure you're using something that's firm, like cardboard. Alrighty, I've got my mask ready to go. I've set it up on the bowl. It's a bit tricky. Try and make your mask sit up somewhere where you can get the right angles. And we are just going to use the technique we've been using, where we just dip our newspaper into our glue, run our fingers down to wipe off the excess, and start paper macheing over those things that you've added. Alrighty, so I've finished this ear. I've gone over that 4 or 5 times. If you find that there's any bits of newspaper that are sticking out and making big wrinkles, just dip your finger in the glue and smooth over those wrinkles. So your newspaper will absorb that moisture and become soggy. You don't want it to be too so soggy that the cardboard underneath starts to become weak, but you'll find that you can sort of smooth over those wrinkles. That newspaper will start to become very mushy, and we will be able to start molding it. Alright, now it's time to do the other ear. Alrighty, my ears are fully paper macheed. Now what I need to do is put this somewhere to dry, because you will have noticed that the rest of your paper mache starts to absorb that moisture, and we don't want it to get too wet and too floppy and start undoing the work that we have already done. So pop it somewhere to dry, leave it until it's fully dried, 3 or 4 days. I hope everyone has had fun this week. Just a heads up for next week, you will need some paint, because we are going to start painting our paper mache masks. If you have any string or ribbon or any sequins or glitter or anything like that you want to add on, by all means use your own creativity. This is your mask. Think about what you want it to look like. I'm going to be just using plain paints that I have at home. I've got acrylic and I've got watercolor. Use the paints that you have at home. If you do not have any paints at home, I can show you how to make some paints using food coloring and our glue, or food coloring and some shaving foam. So if you have shaving foam at home and food coloring, we'll be able to make some paint, or using our paper mache glue and some food coloring. If you can't do that, not a problem, you can use markers, because once it is fully dried, it is still a paper surface. So we can colour it in. It will just take a while and your markers might run out. So just a heads up for that one, but you can colour it in with a marker. I'll see everyone next week ready to paint our masks.